I think that's the thing is they've got to go come up with somebody there. One of the interesting discussions, Ray, was with regard to Mike Tomlin and him saying basically that they that they don't waste their time. There's some people thinking that it's a big ruse that they're spending all this time, following quarterbacks around. Everything you know about Mike Tomlin, and have been around him, as much as anyone, especially throughout the COVID stuff. I mean, you've been around him for a long time now. Is there anything that you've seen from him that would indicate that he is going to waste time going to all these pro days if they weren't serious, at least that if the quarterback they want is there, they're going to take it?
No, I mean, Mike has pretty much come out and said that they are going to draft a quarterback this year. Now, all the eyes are on pick number 20 because that's where you get a future starting quarterback. But, I mean, listen, Paul, they could take a guy in the second, third, or fourth round, too. I mean, he's at all the big pro days. It's kind of under the radar, but Mike Sullivan was at Nevada for Carson Strong's pro day. He's probably a day 2 pick, second or third round. They've been around to all of these quarterback pro days. So, I think everybody is concentrating on Willis, Pickett, Ritter, Corral, and Howe, and for good reason. But just because they're going to draft a quarterback this year, most likely, probably, I'd say it's 90% they're going to draft one. It doesn't mean they have to take one in the first round.
Right. I mean, because there's a lot of guys that are there. And the question I keep hearing, the name that I keep hearing, bouncing around now is this Desmond Ritter. Is he a guy that could be there maybe at 52?
I doubt it, Paul, because all the quarterbacks are going to be overdrafted. And, listen, if you're a second round talent, there's a chance you're going to go late in the first round, early in the second round. That's just the way it is with the position. Now, having said that, I think Ritter could be a decent player if he turns up in the right system in the NFL. I mean, the guy has athletic ability. He's a winner. Accuracy isn't his biggest forte, but I think if you get him with the right quarterback coach or the right offensive coordinator, that, he could turn that around, turn that aspect of his game around too. So, I definitely think, he's probably in that Willis, category where maybe you develop him and you coach him up for a year and then, you see what you got, the following season. So, again, whether he's at 20 or 32 or 42, I don't think a guy like Ritter, or probably not even a Sam Howell, who's probably the 5th quarterback in this class, I think all those guys are off the board by 52. I think if we're going to get, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in this class, it's probably going to be in the first round.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a lot of people have been talking about. It's interesting. I've heard a lot of people arguing about Jordan Davis and the fact that he is a quote 2-down player, and you can't take a 2-down player at number 20. Ray, I just don't understand sometimes where these things come from, but it seems pretty clear to me that if he's there at 20, the Steelers are going to be very, very interested in him.
I think you're right. Mike Tomlin might have telegraphed that at the Georgia Pro Day. I think what people forget about Jordan Davis is, yeah, he's a guy who struggled with his weight. And, yeah, he didn't really he wasn't a 3-down player for Georgia. But then you got to look at what's going on there. They had Trayvon Walker. He's probably going to be a top 5 pick. And they had Devontae Wyatt, who is more of a 3 technique, who's very, very good at getting after the passer, too. So they had all kinds of personnel over the last couple of years that were really good at getting after the passer, and Davis just wasn't given that opportunity. Did his weight have something to do with it? Maybe. He played probably 20 pounds over what he should have been, and I think he's going to have to answer those questions in the NFL. But if you saw him work out at the Combine, some of the numbers he posted, his athletic ability, there is no doubt with the right coaching staff, with the right NFL environment, that you can get more out of him than him just being the two-down player. Again, it's a matter of him being disciplined. It's a matter of him getting with the right coaching staff. And I think in Pittsburgh with Terrell Austin, Brian Flores, Mike Tomlin, that veteran D-line room that you have with Cam Hayward and all those guys, I think it would be a great place. Pittsburgh would be a great place for him to land, because it would be nearly impossible for him to fail here, because they have so much structure and so many good coaches.
We've seen when Mike Tomlin and or Kevin Colbert have not been able to get to some of these pro days. It's been mostly Brandon Hunt, and actually he's been there with Colbert on some of them. Is that? And then I've seen Louis Riddick doing spots on the NFL Network still, or wherever he's at, ESPN or wherever. I don't even know who he works for, but I saw him on TV the last few. Is it pretty clear that Brandon Hunt is going to be the guy? Is that? It just seems to me like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you're not going to hand him the job to wait until after the draft to actually hire somebody.
I think early on in the process, Paul, I think I would have agreed with you, and I think in the end it may work out that way. But the fact that Art has been so deliberate in this interview process, and just the depth of the interviews, 16 deep that they've interviewed so far. I suppose the list could grow even more before the end of the month. He's honestly taking his time, and he wants to get this right. I mean, it's a big decision. They haven't had to go through this for 20 years. Do they know what they have in Brandon Hunt and Omar Khan? Yeah. They know exactly what they have in him. And both of them, and I think that's why they're probably the leaders in the clubhouse. But Art has been very, conscientious about this. So we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't be totally shocked if it was someone from the outside either. I just think it's such an important hire. It's one they haven't had to make since the year 2000, and I think Art wants to get it right more than anything else. And if it ends up being Brandon Hunt and Omar Khan in some kind of a job sharing situation, then, that'd be great. And I think that's what a lot of people figured it would be, but don't be surprised if it's someone from the outside either.
Ray, I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much for jumping in, and have a good weekend, sir.
All right, Paul, you too. Talk to you later.
All right, that's Ray Fittipaldo of the Post-Gazette. I'm Paul Zeiss. Coming up, we've got Julian from Menace to Picks. It's 93.7 The Fan.